Hey, it's good to be here. I truly believe that we are on the precipice of the next great biofuels revolution. I am a congressman from the 1st District of Nebraska, and the people in this room are a big reason that you've got the government's attention and that you've got Congress's attention. When I was first elected to the state legislature back in 2004, it was just the beginning of the ethanol boom. I witnessed it firsthand with the renewable fuel standard, what that did for farmers across Nebraska and the Midwest. In the early 2000s, corn farmers were facing a grim economic outlook. Corn prices were lower than the cost of production, which is similar to today. The U.S. had a grain surplus, and many farmers were forced to live off of government support or even close up their operations altogether. That all changed in 2006 with the advent of the renewable fuel standard and the resulting economic boom. I've seen it firsthand. Biofuel plants popped up across Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota, and other Midwestern states. It brought with them good-paying jobs, along with private sector price support for some of America's most important commodities. Over the years, these plants have attracted follow-on investment from regulated industries, creating biotech hubs producing ethyl lactate, enzymes, bioplastics, and other innovative products. To date, Midwestern biofuels have helped millions of Americans, if not billions, of drivers across the planet access cleaner fuels that are also more affordable. Who knew that California would pay more for carbon-friendly ethanol from the great state of Nebraska? But they do. Now, Nebraska, with 24 operating facilities, is the second largest ethanol-producing state in the country. We are crushing more soybeans than ever. In fact, just in my congressional district, $2 billion investments last year in soybean crush plants. So the bioeconomy is booming. Today, the industry is about to enter a new chapter. This is a big deal for rural communities in Midwestern states because we're on the cusp of a revolution that could dwarf what we experienced following the expansion of ethanol and biodiesel production in the first part of this century. As the world seeks to clean up the air, the airline industry, as you know, is seeking alternatives to traditional aviation fuels. Those alternatives will generally rely on combustion engines, as you so aptly pointed out. Other solutions are being developed, but they will have many challenges to overcome. America is the largest producer of biofuels in the world. And as a leading state for ethanol production, my home state of Nebraska is poised and positioned to deliver the SAF that airlines need to power their aircraft. You might not know this, but Tallgrass Energy, and I think we might have somebody from Tallgrass here today, they are repurposing an interstate pipeline across our state from natural gas to CO2. I have the largest ethanol plant in North America located in Columbus, Nebraska. We are building we're building a lateral line from that ethanol plant to this interstate pipeline to ship our CO2. When I was in the legislature, we remodeled our real estate statutes to make sure that we could compete with states like North Dakota and Wyoming to safely inject CO2. That is done. And when you look at the geology of our state, the Nebraska Panhandle is where we want you doing business. In July, Congresswoman Nikki Baczynski of Illinois joined me to introduce the Sustainable Aviation Fuels Accuracy Act. This bill aims to bring integrity to the standards required to meet the definition of SAF at the Federal Aviation Administration. The legislation does this basically. It recognizes the Department of Energy's Argonne GREET model, bringing integrity to the definition of sustainable aviation fuel, and ensures that more Americans reap the benefits of robust SAF options. I've also joined Congressman Max Miller of Ohio, who I know wanted to be here today, to introduce the bipartisan Farm to Fly Act, which clarifies the eligibility criteria for SAF within the USDA. Clear criteria will help businesses seeking to develop SAF access by existing USDA programs for research and development. And more recently, I introduced the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Information Act with Congressman Troy Carter of Louisiana. This legislation paves the way for clear, accurate, and reliable information on SAF to encourage robust private sector investment and ensure we are meeting production goals. At the state level, and I think this is important because it's always easy to focus on Congress, but our local leaders are responding to the same call. Last year, Nebraska passed a state SAF tax credit. Similar credits have also been explored and implemented in other states. But we can't stop here. More must be done if we hope to see a long-term future for production and the use of SAF in the U.S. I have strongly urged and will continue to push the Department of Treasury to release important guidance on 45Z clean fuel production tax credit. Without this important information, farmers in Nebraska are really wondering where we're going. We are hindering SAF production in our country. Farmers across the country right now are making important long-term production decisions to grow a value-added product for current and future customers. Stakeholders throughout the renewable energy chain are eager to utilize the new tax incentive. I'm sure you know that. Further delays seriously risk the disruption of ongoing project development. And right now, it's no secret, it costs farmers in Nebraska about $4.50 a bushel to create that corn, and we're getting about $3.85 at the elevator. So the SAF conversation could not come at a better time when we have a $32 billion trade deficit in ag products. Providing maximum clarity for our renewable energy producers as they look to invest in SAF technologies is foundational in building any robust domestic production. But it's not only important to get it done quickly, Treasury needs to get this credit done right. And this is where you come in. I was very disappointed with the earlier 40B SAF credit guidance that used a version of the GREET model that rejected the best available scientific data and tied the hands of our nation's producers with unworkable limitations. It is clear cutting-edge agriculture has a role to play in any carbon reduction strategy. Agriculture is not a one-size-fits-all industry. We have to empower the producers, allowing them to use a wide array of practices that still result in the necessary GHG emissions reductions to meet the definition of SAF. What I tell people all the time when we talk about a green economy, no one is more green than a fifth-generation farmer that lives off the land that their fathers, their grandfathers, their great-grandfathers, their great-great-grandfathers have used to make a living since 1860 in the Homestead Act in America. So at the same time, our renewable fuels industry has also been working to decarbonize their fuels, making them even more attractive to potential clients. As I mentioned before, carbon capture and sequestration projects are underway. As I mentioned, we are set to have one of the only large-scale carbon capture pipelines running across our entire state. While projects are being delayed, we are charging ahead, and we are going to show our communities how to make some money and do it right. So I want to firmly plant a flag this morning in my home state of Nebraska and let you know we are open for business. We have the nation's largest interstate CO2 pipeline. We have the geology in the Panhandle and central and south central Nebraska to safely sequester CO2. And we see this as an opportunity to surpass our friends in Iowa and become the #1. I always tell people Iowa has bad corn, but we have the chance to put a flag in Nebraska and say, I know. You get all the presidential candidates. We just have Kamala right now in Omaha. Bottom line, we spend a lot of time talking about the environmental, technical, and commercial benefits of SAF, all of which are important for this conversation. But what I'm most excited for regarding SAF is the significant positive impact I know it will have on the communities that I represent in Nebraska. And so you need to know that as one member of Congress who has a footprint in this space, I want to do everything I can. I'm working with a number of other members of Congress to try and get this pushed. I think we need more education. So if you're from California, if you're from Nevada, if you're from Pennsylvania, it doesn't matter. This is not a partisan issue. This isn't a red or a blue issue. This is about a win-win for agriculture, for people that want to treat the planet better, and more than anything, fly without regret, as we heard this morning. So you need to contact your congressman or congresswoman. You need to make that trip to their district office or to an event or to Washington, D.C., and start with the basics. I will tell you one of the biggest barriers that ethanol has is that we have cultivated all these Midwest members of Congress to understand ethanol, and we do. We drink it for breakfast. We love it. But we come down to Texas, and our Republican brethren are harder to convince that ethanol is a worthy endeavor. We need to start in Texas. We need to start in Louisiana. We need to make the case for SAF where the oil companies have a bigger presence. It can't be a bunch of people from a couple of states that have a collective 25 electoral votes. It has to be down here in Louisiana. It has to be across our southern beltway and the Sun Belt. We need your help doing that. So if you live in the southern United States, you've got an extra chore today, and that is to talk your congresswoman or congressman into supporting SAF. So with that, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me, and thank you for investing your time on this important topic.